Welcome once again to your weekly update from the city of New Hope. Time to check in with the mayor to find out what's new and upcoming in the city. Welcome, Mayor Hemken. How are you on this fine Monday?
Well, there's lovely stuff going on in New Hope this week.
Yeah, a lot to talk about here in the next few minutes. We're going to hop through a few of the city departments. Let's begin in community development, always a busy place. We've got some scattered site to talk about in a second. But first, a favorite of the city, the Rave Awards. Remind us again what that is and how residents can get involved.
Well, every year we try to recognize residents and their not only the person, but the resident itself, where they've done a little extra work to maintain their property or improve their property. So we're calling them the Rave Awards. This has been around for quite a while. You have until the 26th of June or July to actually, you can nominate yourself, you can nominate your neighbor. We just want to recognize all the really pretty things that are being done in New Hope.
And the website again is newhopemn.gov. You can find out more about that contest there. Also find out more about the curbside appeal program. And it sounds like another resident has signed on and will be doing some work to their home.
We have, this is the 27th one. This is on 32nd in Hillsborough. They're putting in a garage door with windows. So we're pleased to do that, and anything we can do to help make that curb appeal look just a little bit nicer.
All right, let's move now to scattered site. A lot to talk about here. Let's begin at the corner of 42nd and Boone. We've been watching those two homes come up there. And now there's something new called a T-shaped driveway. Help us understand why that's a great thing at that corner.
Well, both those houses face Boone. And as you know, Boone's a busy street. And so the developer decided to put in a T-shaped driveway in both of those homes so that when they back out of the garage, they can turn around and they don't have to back onto Boone. They can turn around and head first onto Boone. So the driveways look just a little bit different, but that's the reason for the driveways.
Makes sense. All right, let's talk about the EDA meeting recently in the middle of May. The EDA met and talked about scattered site, and I understand you approved some new projects to start up. Tell us about those.
Well, we talked about that last week. There were 3 projects, and I didn't really want to announce them until the EDA had approved them. And so there's one on 42nd in Nevada, one on 54th in Virginia, and the last one at 8024 50th. So those 3 were approved on the 13th of May, and they'll close on them sometime in June. And then after the closing, we'll tear down the houses and start getting the land ready to find a developer for them. And then what we do is we send out letters and developers send their plans in, look at the plans, we approve what houses should go on which lots. And once that's done, building will start. So again, we're just trying to clean up the neighborhood and take some of these older homes, replace it with some really nice upscale homes.
Excellent. We'll keep those properties on our list and keep you updated as they move along. We've got 2 that are existing, that are in process to bring you up to date on. The first is Boone Place. How are things looking at that property?
That's the one on Bass Lake Road, just a couple houses up on Boone. They're just about done with that. I understand they have a buyer for that. That one faces the cul-de-sac rather than face Boone Avenue. So they'll have a normal driveway.
And the second area we want to touch on is 50th Avenue North, and there's 2 properties there that are really starting to turn into something. What's happening there?
Both of those, they've staked out where the house will go, the houses. The interior one, there's one right on Winnetka, the other one's interior. That one's going to be a 2-story, and those plans have gone to our general inspector. So they'll look at the plans, make sure it's what they think they're supposed to be. And then they will probably start on that one first. I haven't heard definitely which one, but that's what's happening with those 2. But they have been staked out so you can see where the houses are going.
Keep an eye on it as you drive by along Winnetka. All right, to the business networking group. This group that works with the community development department has a meeting coming up. Mark this on your calendar, June 5th. What is the topic of that meeting?
Well, that's always the same topic, by the way. It's a way for small businesses to get to know each other. We go around the table, we talk about what everybody's business is doing. Sometimes there's people there that don't have a business, they just want to know what's going on. So 8:30 in the morning, that will be hosted by Primerica Financial Services. When you host one of these meetings, you get 15 minutes to talk about your business. and people seem to be really interested in hosting that.
Now, in our weekly update with New Hope, let's head over to the police department, talk about some of the activities there. We've got meal deliveries going on, but also some training with the FBI. Tell us about those two topics, Mayor.
Well, once again, our community service officer has delivered Meals on Wheels, and they love to have him there. We've got our administrator going to a FBI violent persons file training. Apparently, if you have a violent person in your community, the FBI is a certain way they want that file put together, and we have to have somebody there that knows how to put that together. So that's what she's been doing. Also, he has been going to St. Joe's for the fraud and scams presentation, talking to the people at a meeting that's there. And some of our cops went to Sonneson for their carnival last week. So that's always fun for them too. Anytime we can get out in the community is a good thing.
Busy week for the police department. Let's head over to Public Works, talk about the new employees. So the process, we've taken you through it, and now we're at the point where they're doing a lot of training on the job. Is that correct?
It's correct. You know, the first couple days they're in the office reading the manuals, and now they're actually in training. So these guys are pretty well trained on the equipment they're using, but they just need to know how the New Hope system works. So that's been happening there. The other thing that's happening is there's something called the Emergency Management Fence Consortium. When you have a civic unrest in your community, they put up a fence around the public buildings, and our maintenance workers need to know how to help put up that fence. So the fence would be delivered, and our maintenance workers would help put that up. They need to be trained on how to put that up in rapid time. So they're off to that training too.
Very interesting. All the things that happen in the background in Public Works. A few things that are very visual in Public Works. One is the Public Works facility. It looks like some big pieces of walls are going up now. What's happening?
Well, somehow I thought they would put down some bricks and then start putting more bricks and build the walls. No, they put down some blocks, and then they brought in a crane and lifted these big walls up in sections. So all of a sudden, we have a big, tall building there. And it looks like it's almost done. They do that because it's a whole lot cheaper and a whole lot easier to do that. But it's really interesting to watch those big walls go up. And it's so big because we have a lot of big equipment that needs to get in there, and we want to keep it inside instead of letting it sit outside in the rain and wind.
Makes sense. And during the day, some of that big equipment right now is busy out on the streets. Tell us about some of the infrastructure projects going on and where we might have to be a little careful if we drive around the city.
Well, 36th Avenue is the hot topic of the day, and JC Park. So they're doing a lot of curb repairs on Hillsborough. And what that is when they're trying to hook up the sewer line to the main line, they had to take out the curb. Somebody asked me, well, why don't they just do all the curbs? Well, that's really expensive. So even though the new curb will look brand new for about a year, after a year, it'll just look like the rest of the curbs. It kind of weathers a little bit. But 36th Avenue, they're doing some major stuff there. So from 169 to Winnetka, that will be closed from the 20th of May till the 23rd. You'll be able to get to some of the businesses through the back way. But it just is not going to be a thoroughfare. I just want to remind people that that bridge is coming out on 36th when the kids get out of school. So hopefully we're trying to get this road repaired so that they can bring in the equipment to fix the bridge. So 36 is probably not the place to be in the next couple months.
That's right. Keep your eyes open around that area. One final road to talk about is Louisiana. This is the joint project between New Hope and Crystal. What is the latest development there?
There's a cul-de-sac on 31st in Louisiana, and they're going to do a total replacement of that road. That means new water main, sewer system, just pipes, and they rip that whole thing up, and it's going to take a while to get it fixed. People have asked me, what if we have an emergency? And in that case, I did call the fire department and ask them, and they said, trust us. If you have an emergency, we'll get in there. So a police car, an ambulance, a fire truck, they'll be able to get in there. They kind of do it in sections so that the emergency vehicles can get in there. So feel safe that something can get in if they has to, but that's going to be a long process in there.
Next department to touch on is one that's very busy this time of the year, and that is Park and Rec. They've got some things wrapping up and some new things starting. First one wrapping up, the Donut Talk. Again, remind residents what that is and what's going to happen over the next couple months.
Well, that goes on in Crystal. It's called Donut Make You Wonder. And for an hour and a half, they bring in a speaker. You get to eat a donut, drink some coffee, listen to the speaker. Well, the last one was last week. And so now they will be off for the summer. They'll start in September. So when you get your fall brochure, you should look in that and see what they're going to be in the dates that they're going to have that.
Recently, I know you and a lot of people crowded into Cooper High School auditorium to see some dancers of all ages. Tell us what you saw and how the show was.
Oh, it was so fun. So it's 3-year-olds to 18-year-olds. And I've been mayor a long time, and a lot of these 3-year-olds I've watched grow up, and they're now 18 and they're graduating high school. It was 3 days, two recitals on Saturday, one on Sunday. They were pretty much filled up all 3 days. The kids were just adorable. The costumes were fabulous. I'm so proud of that program. They do this every year, and they really do a nice job. If you've never been to one, it's a fun afternoon.
Yeah, some great activities there. Let's talk about more in Park and Rec, talk about the summer projects, a lot going on for planning now for summer. But believe it or not, they're already talking fall.
They are. It takes a long time to get these brochures together because they've got to get not only all the programs, but who's going to run them, who's going to talk at them, and what the cost is going to be and where they're going to be. So they're working on the fall brochure now, but they're still cleaning up some of the summer stuff and making sure that that happens on time. So lots of work behind the scenes on that.
We often talk about some of the tournaments happening at the golf course and the ice arena. We'll get to those in just a second, but here's a unique one. You had a grass volleyball tournament at one of your parks. This is a unique occurrence.
It is. This was at Hidden Valley Park last week, Saturday, I believe. I wasn't there. I understand it was a nice turnout and they had fun and they played volleyball in the park.
Good for them. All right, a lot of updating going on at those various parks. Let's take people to Northwood Park and talk about some of the things that will be happening soon there. What are some of the construction plans?
Well, if you remember, I talked about the outdoor exercise equipment that we were going to put in, so it'll follow the path that goes around Northwood Park. But this equipment has to be put on a concrete pad. And so the staff went out and identified where those concrete pads would go. The next thing that'll happen is our Park and Rec department, or I'm sorry, our Public Works department will go and put those concrete pads in, and then the equipment will go in. So it should be going in sometime this summer.
So as we always tell you in Park and Rec, a lot of fun happening, but there's some things that maybe not be as fun and appealing, but they do have to happen. And that has to do with weeds and trees. Mayor, give us an update on those two things.
Well, since I'm the weed inspector, thank goodness I have an assistant weed inspector. But the inspector is going out, identifying where the noxious weeds are, and will be giving people a notice that they need to mow. And when I say need to mow, not just your yard, that boulevard that's between the street and the sidewalk, that needs to be mowed too. And even though it's an easement, it doesn't, the city does not maintain it. The resident maintains that. So if you get a notice, I would suggest you mow because you're going to get another notice, and the second one comes with a fine.
And as far as the trees goes, there's some tagging going on and also some stakes going in the ground. What do those mean?
So the emerald ash borer is still with us, and they're going on tagging those trees with orange paint. The orange paint is only going on the city-owned trees, but you may get a notice that your tree in your yard has emerald ash borer disease and needs to come down. If that's the case and it's on your land, you need to take that down at your cost. The other thing that's happening is there's going to start putting in stakes where the new trees will be planted. And this again is all on city land, on the boulevards or in the parks. So those stakes go in so that they know where to put those new trees. And hopefully they'll get those trees in before it gets too hot.
Let's hope so. There's a group out doing some beautifying of the city in a couple different ways. They're doing some planting and also some cleanup work. Who's the group behind this great activity?
Well, we have something called the Citizens Advisory Commission. And so they cleaned up Liberty Park last week as just one of their projects. The other thing they did is we ordered plants for them, and they planted the planters on 42nd Avenue. So there'll be somebody coming out that's going to water them, keep them alive. And you'll see them starting to bloom pretty quick here, but they've pretty much all been planted.
Let's hop over to the golf course, give you a quick update here of some of that activity. There's some special events that have been going on and also some follow-up to the plant sale. Tell us about what's up at the golf course.
Well, there's a family that has just a family outing there every year. They've been doing it for years. So they were there in the morning, and then there was a charity golf tournament in the afternoon with a shotgun start. So busy time Saturday at the golf course. Sunday was open for open play, and that was busy too. Now, anyone that's gone to the golf course knows that we had a plant sale there and raised a little over $2,300. And basically that goes back to the superintendent of the park, of the golf course, to buy flowers and replacement trees and just do that little stuff that might not be in his budget. So gets $2,300 to just make it look pretty.
Fantastic. All right, to the ice arena we go. And speaking of tournaments, here's a place that's always busy with tournaments. Who was in the great New Hope Arena this past weekend?
Well, I always have to read this because it's so the Independent Classic Tournament for girls under 14. So that tournament was there. And then, of course, they're always renting the ice out to other groups, goaltending groups and skating groups. And there's 10 men's teams that rent the ice. So it's pretty busy there all the time, even in the summer.
One more place to talk about, that is the aquatic park, and that is getting exciting right now. And there is some water in part of it and some swimmers, but hold on if you're a public swimmer. What's going on and what's coming up next?
Well, I told folks last week that there would be water in the pool because they have to have it tested. Well, we passed that inspection just fine. And what they're doing now is they're renting the 50-meter pool out to swim clubs just to do some practicing some of the evenings. It's not open to the public. Right. The pool will open on the 1st of June, which is less than 2 weeks away. But what they're doing now is they're starting to fill the recreational pool, putting up the umbrellas, getting the sunshades out, getting the concession stands ready. So they will open on the 1st of June, rain or shine.
All right.
No,
let's get ready.
Lightning. No lightning, though.
No, let's hope not. And one other park and rec note to pass along for people that like to plan ahead, something that we always have a lot of fun with, is the Young Mudders. First of all, what is that and what should people be looking for now?
This is really a fun event. So it happens in Crystal. They kind of rope off a little piece of Valley Place Park, fill it with dirt and water and an obstacle course. And so kids come and they basically go through the obstacle course in the mud, and then the fire department gently hoses them off and sends them home. So that's going to happen on the 8th of June. You can look in your Park and Rec book for details on that. If you'd lost your book, you can go in and get another one, or you can simply call the Park and Rec department and they'll give you the what you need to know. Just reminding people, a lot of the programs in Park and Rec, you can get a scholarship help so that the Park and Rec department will pay half and then the resident will pay the other half. So if you want to get your kids involved and don't really have the finances right now, contact our Park and Rec department. I think they can help.
And here's a look at what that book looks like. So the little soccer player is still the one to look for. And this has all that information about the Young Mudders and much, much more. To a couple proclamations from the city. So tell us about some of the important information that residents should know about of an important week and an important day.
So May 19th to the 25th is Public Works Week. Now, Public Works, I've always thought of them as my little angels, my little handyman that just fix everything. So if you see a Public Works guy out there or gal, please just wave to them and thank them for what they do, because they're doing a lot of stuff out there that nobody notices. I notice. So then on the 25th of May, this is National Missing and Exploited Children's Day, and New Hope has claimed that as the day of the 25th of May. I wish we didn't have to have missing and exploited children, but we need to be at least aware that that does happen.
And again, go to the city's website, newhopemn.gov. You can find out more about that week and that special day. A final note to pass along, you recently made a trip to Wisconsin to go to a community media festival. And this, what we're doing, is part of community media as well. but you have a council member that was along for the ride and a very special presentation that was made there. Tell us more about that.
Well, Juanita Hoff did a CCX program called, and I gotta get the right so I don't get it wrong, called Northwest City Politics, and she'd been doing that for nearly 20 years. Juanita passed away this last year, and her husband, Andy, who's on the city council with me, really wanted to go, but he's not as mobile as he used to be. So another one of the council members and I and Andy drove to Eau Claire, Wisconsin, so that Andy could accept the award for his wife, and he was very pleased to do that. They showed a little clip of the show that she does. So thank you to CCX too, because they're the ones that have allowed her to come into the studio. This Northwest politics really gives people an idea of not only what's happening in New Hope, but what's happening in the other 9 cities that CCX serves. So thank you very much. And they're going to continue to do this, I understand, for the foreseeable future.
That's right. The show continues on, but special thanks to Andy for, I know he was the behind the scenes guy with that program as well, and spent a lot of evenings here at the studio helping Juanita produce that program. So congratulations to them. Well, that is it for our update from the city of New Hope today. Thanks for joining us. And Mayor, thank you for your time. We encourage people to stick around. We've got to look at some events coming up in the community that you just might want to get on your calendar. Kathi, have a great week. We'll talk to you again next week.
You too. I think it's going to rain this week, though.
Get that umbrella out. We'll talk to you next week.
I will. Bye-bye, Dave.
Learn more about the connection at ccxmedia.org and follow us on social media.